You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Hey there, well, welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. Now, AI is absolutely everywhere. I mean, I'd say the bulk of the people that I'm interviewing lately usually have some kind of like AI badge associated to either their agency and or their software tool. And it's very interesting. But what I've learned today, and I'm seeing it with a lot of brands, they're still kind of manually doing a lot of things, even though there's a lot of great tools out there. Just think about things like, I don't know, analyzing support tickets or customer feedback, these post-purchase experience kind of things that people do, or people trying to segment their customers and figure out how do I get the next sale based on previous order history. And I think there's an interesting gap right now between a lot of this AI hype that's happening and then, I'd argue maybe AI that's actually doing like meaningful work. And I think that's why I have my guest on today. His name is Ibi. He's the co-founder of a company called Cotera, and they're at Cotera.co. And what they are, and I did some research for recording today, they're an AI platform that builds, and I don't want to use a lot of these acronyms, but they're autonomous agents. And really what they do and can do is they can handle a lot of the repetitive work that, I'd argue maybe a lot of like teams are kind of drowning in a bit, like these lean teams that are really trying to maximize their productivity. Which is very interesting. Ibi originally was one of the first data scientists over at Peloton, kind of in the early days of kind of like really blew up around the COVID times. And it's interesting because he actually watched DTC brands really scale rapidly, like while maybe their customer data is kind of scattered across all these different tools. And that's one of the reasons why he decided that I think it's time to start automating a lot of this process. And it's interesting what he's done. I don't want to put words into his mouth right now because I think he's got a great story to tell about the early days in Peloton, and then how that applies to you, the founder or marketer of a direct-to-consumer brand, and how Cotera and its technologies might be interesting for you. So, hi, Ibi, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on, Steve. Appreciate it a ton.
I'd say it's a great name badge to have. We one of the first data scientists at Peloton, and their hyper growth was just insane. What were you seeing in the data and operations while you were there that said, hey, wait a second, I think there's a gap right now between what the company knows about their customers and then how they're able to action that data?
I think every single person that's listening to this podcast probably has had some frustration around an analyst or a data person of some kind. The constant type of work that I was doing and that I saw in my career before starting the company was, we'll tell a story here. Like the head of retention or somebody who was on the marketing team was like, hey, I want, a churn prediction model. I want to be able to send an email anytime we think that somebody is going to churn. And, Mr. Data Scientist, will you please make me a model that does this? And, the data scientist is like, yeah, of course. I'd love to do that. That sounds amazing. But then they'll go into their hole for 5 to 6 months, come up with this perfect quote unquote model. And then the marketer gets a big file of some kind that goes into detail about why this is the big model, when what the marketer wanted was, hey, I need in Klaviyo or Braze an event to be sent that says, hey, this person has a much higher likelihood to churn than they did last month. And this is the type of email that you want to send them to be able to get them to come back. And that disconnect, right? That disconnect between the technical person and the marketer was, is something that up until very, very recently, you couldn't really solve for. Now that marketer can go sort of upload a bunch of profiles of users into ChatGPT and say, hey, here's a list of 100 users. I want you to tell me, which of these users are probably going to cancel next month so I can send them an email with some sort of campaign, right? You can kind of quote unquote jankily figure it out. And what we try to do is we try to take the process around how the marketer thinks about churn, apply it to a model with natural language, and give them the tools necessary to be able to, every day the AI agent looks at, it's the process that a human would use, right? If you had 1 million interns, you could tell 1 million interns to open up every account every single day and say, hey, like, does this account look like it's going to come back? If yes, then don't do anything. If no, then, let's give them a discount on a product that we think that they'd like. Okay, cool. But the thing is, you can now do that with natural language. You have to get a little bit creative, but a marketer now no longer needs that data scientist to go into the hole. All they need is the data scientist to be able to help them get the right data into the AI at the right time. But the process can now be owned by the marketer because they have the best idea of what customer is going to churn it up.
It's interesting because I'm thinking here, what I find interesting was that I think sometimes there's a disconnect to a lot of people that are listening right now, talking about this kind of true autonomous agent that actually just goes out and does the work based on how you've set up this agent versus maybe things like a chatbot or other things where, you have to directly, like you said, with ChatGPT or other tools where you have to kind of go and query and get the answer back and then figure out how you're going to action that answer or massage the query correctly. Prompt engineering is turning into such a career for people, right? Because I think one of your slogans that I see even on your website is, AI agents that don't need babysitting. So I know it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's interesting. And so maybe let's draw the comparisons between these two of like what a true kind of autonomous agent is. And that's kind of like, I guess, the path you're going down versus maybe other tools that are more query based.
Yeah, so this is a great question. The way that we think about autonomous agents is very simply, it's kind of two parts. One, you don't have to stitch together a bunch of tools. You talked in our sort of pre-show interview about, this diaspora of tools that people have to kind of like duct tape together. You shouldn't have to do that, right? Like you shouldn't have to connect, there's all those tools where it allows you to like building block style, like stitch together a bunch of tools.
Drag and drop and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't want you to have to do that. We want you to, in clear, just like you would be writing an email, like let's say you hired an intern, right? You would write an email to that intern and say, hey, this is exactly the process that I want you to follow. I want you to do this for me once a day. Let's actually make this a little bit more concrete, right? Like we had a client, they did something really clever. They were like, hey, I have this huge list of customers that are in my top 5% of spenders. It's a DTC fitness brand. And they were like, I want to launch my influencer campaign. A series of interns do is basically like, go look up each of their like high spending customers on Instagram. Try to like use Google to find their profiles, go look at their profiles. And if they quote unquote had either a lot of followers or they had like a big community of people that seemed to be in the fitness space, or they were posting a lot about fitness, they would, send them an email being like, hey, do you want to become an influencer for us? We will send you a free product if you post about it. And suddenly like these people got a huge discount, but because they were true fans of the brand, and this was something that was going to take a year. Like they have a lot of customers. It was a team that they had a huge team of interns that could have been doing something a little bit more useful than like stalking people online. And what they did was they were like, okay, cool. What we want to do is we want to give this exact same email that we send to the interns on how to do this to the AI agent. And we want to give the AI agent access to Instagram and Google to be able to like look those up. So it's two parts. One is go in and start writing the prompt just like you would an email. And then you give the AI agent access to an Instagram account so it can go find people, and it can give it access to Google so it could do that. And those are the only two parts, right? And then the last bit is garbage data in, garbage data out. You have to give it access to the names of the customers that are spending a lot of money with you so it can like do its research. And then suddenly the AI agent does something in 5 minutes that it would take a team of interns like a month and a half to do.
Wow, this is crazy. So like, what about existing tech stack? Because I think a lot of times when people start thinking about, I should be using AI tools for my business. And I agree with you on the autonomous agent side of it and just going down that path. But what I find interesting is some people say, well, do these tools, yours included, do they connect and play nicely with other pieces of technology built into Shopify's tech stack? The reason I say this is because like there are some notable apps, like there's certain categories of products that Shopify doesn't build. Even though Shopify maybe have Shopify Inbox, people use Klaviyo. It is what it is. And so my question to you is that, Klaviyo clearly has their way of approaching data. I mean, they even have this new data warehouse thing, their CRM that they've built, but they seem to only kind of like maybe analyze more of the behavioral data, like what products have they viewed or purchased or frequency and these sorts of things, lifetime value predictions. They can do some neat stuff, kind of core baked into it. But it seems to me that there's a lot of things that might be missing, and how to understand, like maybe like almost the voice of the customer versus maybe just the behavior of the customer.
The best way that I like to think about this is Klaviyo has sort of a pretty narrow set of safety, right? Like Klaviyo is probably not going to give a marketer access to an AI agent that will custom generate an individual message per customer. What you could do is you can probably customize a line and they will probably come out with an AI agent to say, hey, like, here's 15 different versions of this same line. Please go analyze what we know about this customer and figure it out. But the danger, there's just a ton of brand risk to Klaviyo in having a generic AI agent that goes into their product and can kind of take any action, right? Like that is something that's like foundationally like very, very dangerous. And it's a huge brand risk for them because Klaviyo's AI messes up and like gives all of my customers a free product. It's not a very good thing. So what we try to do, and the way that we think about it is smart people deserve to have access to all of the different tools that are available, right? And so I'll give you an example of something a customer did pretty recently that was just not possible in Klaviyo. Basically, they had a couple overstock items. It's an apparel company. I think they had an overstock item of like women's shoes, a belt, like a unisex belt, and then like a t-shirt in like size medium and large. And so what they needed to do is they were like, we want to blast an email campaign that basically gives one of these three products as a free gift if someone decides to purchase something else, right? Because it's overstock for us. Like, I can't remember exactly why they needed to like get it out of their warehouse. They were like, we will take negative margin on this thing.
Yeah, it's cash flow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, we need to get this off. We need to get this out of our inventory. We have a couple extra left. And so we want to send an email. We want to have it be, the first 1,000 people to click this are going to get like this free gift to have some urgency. But what they didn't know is these products are super random. They're like, is there anyone that is going to actually buy it? And nor Klaviyo nor Shopify have the features necessary to be able to like create a quick engine that decides which of the products any customer should get or if they shouldn't get each one. So what they did was they stitched together Shopify and Klaviyo. So in Klaviyo, they had their sort of Shopify order history with each of the individual products. They effectively created a ChatGPT style prompt that was like, hey, I'm going to give you a user's purchase history. I want you to figure out which of these three products, remember the women's shoes, the unisex belt, or the medium to large shirt is going to be the best one to put in. If you don't think that any of them are going to be a good fit, put NA. And so then the AI went through the list of every single customer, every single thing that they had ordered, their email address, and it figured out, and it also checked to see if they'd actually opened an email in the last like month. And it basically just figured out, okay, which of these products do we give? They loaded that into Klaviyo and they sent that email and they were out within I think 45 minutes or something. Like they sent the email and like all 1,000 of them had been taken. Job's a good one. They like bumped up their thing pretty significantly. And that's just something where, again, it's that control. Klaviyo is never going to give you that tool because the downside risk of accidentally giving your customers a free product is way, way too high. And that's kind of the place where we aim to, there's a lot of really, really clever marketers out there that don't have the time necessary to go through and individually create this campaign. They don't have the people resources necessary to have someone else do it, and they don't have the technology resources necessary to develop their own internal AI to go do this one thing, right? They need to get that stuff out quickly and fast. And basically, the way we think about it is connect the tools, explain it like you would do a human, and have the AI go down the list and actually do the thing.
That's amazing. Another area that I think is quite interesting too is, there's two things I'm thinking of right now. One is I guess brand and social media monitoring. I think it's an interesting topic. The reason I bring this up is because I think early stage brands maybe even some mid-market are not doing this at all or very effectively, and they don't realize like the upside value of monitoring in real time through an autonomous agent like yours, for example, where all of a sudden, if there's something timely and important or an influential person or negative reviews and someone's kind of blowing something up that's going on social, it's just like, are you triaging these? And like, do you know fast enough? Do you have to wait for a raving fan to kind of tell you, oh, someone's not speaking very well about your brand right now? Or on the flip side, do you even know that influential people or a bunch of people are actually talking great about your particular business? Because it comes back to the whole full circle again about this influencer side. Imagine if you had a way of monitoring your brand and your social mentions in real time almost, and being notified about the good and the ugly that could happen with a business.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, for small companies, right? Like, for better or for worse, and like, I don't want to offend anyone when I say this, it does not take very much effort to start a DTC brand, right? To start like, it's very easy to set up a Shopify store. You can buy sort of raw product from overseas. Brand is everything, right? Brand is everything. And these monitoring agents, they're useful in a handful of ways, right? The company that I'll bring up here that I think does this better than anyone is one of our customers, Coterie Baby. They were just acquired by Mammoth. It was a huge sale. They do brand better than anyone I have ever met before. And it's because of the fact that they care so much about their customers. They are very, very customer forward. They are constantly, monitoring Reddit, monitoring Twitter, monitoring the forums where they're, because think about it, right? Like, you're selling a product to mothers and fathers that are most likely at the beginning of their journey. If you have a baby, you've either had maybe you've had a kid before, but you're probably not that practiced. You're probably worried about that kid, the baby's, when you're buying diapers.
Yeah, there is no owner's manual.
There's no owner's manual, right? It was weird. Everyone has, like, a lot of people have children. Like, we are all the children of parents, but everyone does it for the first time, and it's very hard. And so brand is everything. Trying to figure out, making sure, on the one hand, you're online, you're inside the conversations that people are having. You're able to see what people are saying about your product so that you can improve it, right? If somebody's coming and saying, hey, I use product X, it didn't work for me, you can drop into that conversation, say, hey, like, we're going to send you a $25 gift card if you just like answer the survey on why it didn't work for you, because we want to get better. Suddenly you've turned this public almost trashing of your product into something a little bit more positive. But there are so many other benefits, right? Like, you can gather a ton of information to feed back to your product team. You can engage in those conversations and show a public face and say, hey, like, we're going to fix this for you. We're very, very sorry. What I've started to see a lot of companies also do is do this for their competitors, right? Especially new entrants into the market.
Competitive analysis, yeah.
Exactly. I want to go up against the incumbent. What are people saying about the incumbent? Where are people talking about the incumbent publicly? So I can say, hey, oh, you didn't like the GNC like fitness supplement thing? Oh, cool. Try this one. Here, I'll give you like it for $10 off if you like use this link, right? This isn't related to Coterra at all, but we actually saw a customer of one of our brands. What they did was they took the referral URL that the brand gave them, and they set up a Google ad for it, because they would get $10 every time somebody would click on the link. And they basically set up a Google ad that was like, hey, hate this product, hate competitor's brand, click on this and you'll get like $10 off this new thing that I've been trying to try. So, and I don't know how they set it up, but whenever you Googled the competitor, it's the first thing that would crop up. And so like, you start to see this like weird incentive marketplace for it. But yeah, you have competitor research, you have great customer experience. And again, in those early days, your brand is everything. Getting the word out there is everything. Being known as a company that like cares about its customers and builds a product that they stand behind is everything. And that's, I think, foundationally like what is better about Coterie. Definitely has a better product than other people out there, but you can get like other great diapers. It's just that everything that we see online is that everyone loves the team, everyone backs the product, everyone believes that Coterie is out there developing products that are safe for their children and incredible. And in fact, I've worked for that team for now 2 years. It is just very, very clear why they are leaps and bounds beyond everyone else. They use data. They try really, really hard to use technology to scale properly. Selfishly, they are also one of our best customers, but yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know there are other tools that do this. I just don't know how well. And I think that's one of the benefits of your platform is that, number one, you're platform agnostic. Number two, it's just like you have a lot of like pre-designed, from what I can see, processes and workflows that are ready to implement and or modify to your liking. And it's not meant to be a pitch fest, but I found it interesting when I was digging into it, and that's why I brought up the brand and social media monitoring. I thought that was quite interesting, like the proactive alerting about positive and negative sentiment of certain things. And then you brought a great point about the competitor side of it too, because it kind of gives you ideas, exactly what you were talking about. It's a little bit of a negative marketing. Hey, problems with this, come and buy mine instead. But on the flip side, if people are talking great things about a certain product, and you're in the playing in the same space, it's interesting. It's like, wow, we've never really marketed our product the same way. We believe we have better ingredients, or we believe we have a better widget now based on what they're doing, and maybe we need to market that better because people are clearly liking that part of the market leader. And so the only way you find that is by having, in your case, having this, autonomous agent like fully running in real time and monitoring this real time sentiment, and then being able to action that sentiment.
The biggest thing that we heard about that one is like the AI bit of it, right? Is like a lot of the social media monitoring tools, if old, they would take two approaches. One was keyword, right? It would just look for like people matching it, and that's fine. But like, if you're a big company, that just doesn't work for you because people talk about you in a lot of like out of context things all the time. And then number two is that like only the ones where they tag you, right? They're tagging you. And what AI does is it's suddenly like not binary. It can make decisions now. And so what you can do is you can give it a huge list of, hey, here are all of the tweets where people talked about me. Can you tell me which of these is actually someone complaining or someone like asking a question or something, and not somebody like just saying, I mean, some companies, they share their word with something else. Like coterie, for example, means with you in French. And so like, when you just do a keyword search, that's the thing that comes up a lot of the time. So you need something to actually make that decision so it doesn't give you garbage. Because like you don't want to be inundated with a bunch of crap that doesn't make sense that you have to like go and parse through.
Right. And then the other thing to think about, like it's on the similar vein about, about a brand and monitoring other brands. It's just like brands try to figure out, well, who is my target audience? And a lot of times, it's a lot of top of funnel ads that are going on right now. And you kind of rely on Meta and Google, TikTok to a certain degree to kind of help find the next best. But then I guess you could also argue it's like, instead of like maybe anecdotally trying to figure out who, I guess, the avatars of these raving fans, the personas of the customers that you believe, would resonate with your product. And maybe you have this agent, I don't know, but like imagine being able to understand like the feedback of what's going on in the market that you play in, and then based on that feedback, trying to build a community around that. I don't know, just trying to figure out the language. Maybe I'll throw it back to you, just trying to figure out like how do we understand these customer insights, like maybe from reviews, maybe social media, online community, could be Reddit, whatever. But then how do you enrich that data? And then, how are you able to maybe like segment and then action it?
You hit the right term here. It's like riches are found in niches, and understanding a community and what pain they feel is by far and away the most important thing that you can do. We find that people will be loyal if you feel like you're speaking to them. And the only way that you can speak to a specific type of customer is by understanding them and understanding their pain and building something that answers that pain. If I go to a doctor's office and I say, hey, doc, I have a headache, and they're like, oh, well, I've got this thing that will fix your leg pain if you have leg pain. Maybe it'll work for your headache. You're not going to listen. You're not going to be as involved as if the doctor were to come to you and say, okay, I listened to you. I hear that you have a headache. Here is a pill that I recommend to my patients that I know cures headaches. Here you go. You'll be much more likely to take that pill and believe that it'll work. That's the approach that we take. Those are the products that we think tend to do better than the others.
Oh, that's amazing. So with brand and social monitoring, I get it. And then I agree with like this whole like persona clustering and kind of finding your raving fans. And I agree with you. When you have the right language and you're speaking their language, then they're more apt to resonate with them and you're more apt to interact with them so that they can come on board with you. Let's talk about maybe the Shopify connections. I think at the end of the day, I know you're platform agnostic, but I just want to make sure that we kind of bring it full circle and saying like, what do you say to a brand right now that, and we talked kind of offline before recording, that brands are really trying to figure out how they can be early adopters without ruining the business. In fact, they're afraid sometimes to have a chatbot running after hours because they're worried that maybe it might hallucinate or it won't be on brand. So they're nervous about that. There's even like AI voice agents now that will like take phone calls for you in multi languages. And like, it's just, there's so much stuff out there, but people are really nervous about wanting to dabble. Like, since you talk to lots of people, what do you think some of the next steps should be for these D2C brands? It can relate to your product, but just relate overall and just kind of like AI adoption and then implementation.
There's a couple things that we hear. We recently had a huge, honestly, I don't think it was a success. It was a success in that we paid a decent amount of money to go to 2 conferences, and I think we were woefully underprepared for how brands were thinking about AI. And the overwhelming thing that I heard is that, one, in the same breath, people would say, my boss is telling me that I have to use AI. 2 is like, I don't know how to do it or what it does. I know I have to use it. I don't know how it works. The biggest thing that I think that whoever you are listening out there should do is you have to be able to show some sort of ROI. And that ROI can be in one of 2 ways. One is like, we've made some money, right? Like, it's like we've used this AI thing to basically increase throughput. It's basically, it can do the work of like 1,000 people. That Instagram thing that I was talking about, right? Is like, it would be very expensive to hire 100 interns to go stalk everyone on Instagram, but it's very cheap to have an AI agent do it. So we made more money by like doing something that we weren't able to do before. Or, and this is the easy one, figure out what is taking you a ton of time and try to build a simple workflow to automate it. So on the Shopify side, we talk about recommendation engines. One thing that's super easy is quality assurance. The common thing that I always like to talk about is we have a customer that they had one QA manager. Their QA manager was spending 80% of their 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week or whatever, manually reading every single customer support interaction and ranking each of their offshore agents on how they performed, and only spending 20% of the time actually talking to those agents and saying, hey, this is the thing that you have to do to get better. And they were pretty stagnant. Like, their NPS, they had a goal to increase their NPS scores and they couldn't do it. What they do now is they have an AI agent actually just do the boring job of scoring every interaction. And now, instead of scoring just 3% or 5% of interactions, it scores 100%. They only look at the ones that are scored low, and they develop custom training plans with that like 80% of time that they saved. The way to think about this is the AI is not going to replace your job if the only thing that you think of your job as reading those manual support tickets. You, as a QA manager, are in charge of training and development. So, have it read and score them, but it is your job to go and actually coach these end line agents on how to be better. And guess what? Once they started doing that, once the QA manager wasn't drowning in all these tickets that she had to manually read, the NPS scores went up because the agents now finally knew, oh, okay, cool. You've spent time with me. You've coached me. I understand what I need to do better. NPS scores went up. And so that's the ROI, right? We were able to increase our brand. We were able to increase retention. We were able to increase our NPS because we automated the non-leveraged part using AI.
I see. Yeah. And you know what? I think everybody has a different kind of maturity and complexity, but I think in that particular case, I think you're right. Having access to that data and then, and bringing it all in, and then the training part of it, your net promoter score is going up because of that. Just less stress for the the customer facing.
Exactly.
It's interesting. And then as far as the AI tools, I have had a lot of them on lately. It's interesting. I mean, I always tell people in the early stages of their business that you should really think about Shopify's kind of native, kind of free offers of things like Shopify Magic, which is kind of content creation, image editing, things like that, customer support. They have some things, I think even Shopify Inbox, if you're in your early days, they have some AI kind of powered chat responses and things like that are available. But this is more on the early started. But then as you kind of work through it, and then I know you kind of help out in that, but there's the customer service side, you think about the marketing side. There's even like, full content production. You talk about personalization. I agree with that. Even things now about building a store now. You can actually build a full Shopify store now through AI. We just had them on storebuild.ai people on. It's just insane what's available out there, even like mini sites, even like landing pages and things like that. The key is just stop being overwhelmed. This whole paralysis analysis thing. Like you're looking at so much. Everywhere you look on social media, every feed is AI this, AI that. That's great. But the problem is a lot of people are just kind of like, are just passively looking at it and not actually like testing and trying things. And I think that's maybe different. And that's, I think, one of the benefits of your platform is that, I'm sure there's a crawl, walk, run kind of methodology going on about how people could use your platform to solve a very unique problem and get the insights they need, like, and then all of a sudden it starts opening up the dialogue about, well, what other things can we automate?
I think ChatGPT is that sort of like free version. I think that like try to run shortcuts through ChatGPT. And if you find yourself saving some time, then it might be worth it to move on to the next level, right? I mean, companies can work with us for as low as $99 a month. We're super, super happy to like give you an account. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast and you mention like that this is how you found me, I am very, very happy to give you a few hundred credits for free so you can mess around with it. I will sit down with you personally, talk you through it. Very happy to do that. But yeah, like there are so many tools out there. There's so many great products out there, right? Like use ChatGPT, use some of these other tools that are out there to see if you can like get an automation together, show some value for yourself. To anyone listening to this podcast, like if you're running a brand, if you're a part of a small team, you are incredibly waterlogged and there's a ton of stuff that you could be doing, right? If you're a performance marketer for a small company, you're in charge of all of the ads. You're in charge of creating the creative. You are a one-man show. Figure out how to use AI to get rid of all the BS that you have to do, all of the repetitive manual tasks using AI, because what it'll do is it'll give you more time to think strategically and make smart decisions. And that is the thing that we cannot give to AI. AI will not help you run your business and be smarter than you are, but it will take a lot of the tasks off your plate. Your job is to be that strategic mind, and outsourcing all of like the itty bitty, like repetitive, like mindless work is the only way that you can get there, because you don't have the resources to spend a ton of money to do it.
Yeah, using ChatGPT, or a lot of people using Claude, or they're using Perplexity. Some people, I guess, are going down the Gemini road too. But it's interesting because, there's a lot of ways of thinking about the marketing side, about, maybe creating some email campaigns like sales or launches, cart abandonment, these sort of things, even social media posts, subject lines. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to at least give some creative ideas to query that. So that's really, solving, instead of like sitting there and handwriting and typing and trying to figure things out. I mean, this is all part of the research phase. I think it works really well. And then that can also roll into the strategy phase too, about are there any kind of marketing campaign ideas, or you brought up competitor analysis and like even product recommendations. How could we expand our business? What are we missing? We play in this market. What are we missing that maybe we might want to consider adding a new product or enhancing a certain product, because this is what, and Perplexity is really good at that because they're a really good Googler, finding everything and then going, okay, great. And then all of a sudden it gives you some ideas. You look like a hero actually when you do that, and you do this sort of research ahead of time, because then it can be then sorted out onto a document and then presented to the team and going, okay, well, here's the research that I found. And I think that's the kind of early stages of what people can do with, with a chatbot, or like, ChatGPT and others.
100%.
So what do you think the future looks like then for the whole AI world? I know that we don't have a magic wand or a crystal ball here, but there's a lot changing, and it's changing rapidly. Some folks are not doing anything. They're just kind of watching on the sidelines, and they're waiting for the mid-market to enterprise case studies to kind of say, oh, well, it's working for them. Maybe I might want to start considering it now. What's your thought about, like, where do you see the technology going? Just because you're right on the cusp of what's happening, and you clearly have a platform that is creating these autonomous agents. So I just would like to hear your own mindset, just the warm and fuzzy about where the company is headed and where the technology is headed.
I'll give you my personal goal. My personal goal is we have an internal calculator, and the way that we measure ROI at Cowterra is we have saved humanity, I want to say 80 million hours. I want to get that to 5 billion in the next 3 years. That's my goal. Is we have this calculator that for every action that our AI agents take, we figure out, hey, how long would this have taken a human? And we just basically multiply it. It's a very simple calculator. We want to get that number to 5 billion in the next 2 to 3 years. I think I said in the next 5 years, but I looked at our numbers and I think we can get there a lot sooner. That is my personal goal. I want to save humanity's time is our most valuable resource, and I want people to outsource the mindless tasks to AI. And the way that we measure that is by figuring out what that metric is. The way I think it'll go, honestly, is if I hear a lot of the same thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to wait for Gong to come out with this, or I'm going to wait for Shopify to come out with this. If you wait for that, and these people are, the reason they're doing it is from a place of fear. I think that there is a very easy way to dip your toe in the water, and it doesn't have to be with us, right? I'm not gonna pretend that like we're the only game out there. Start using ChatGPT, start using these free tools to your advantage to start saving yourself time. Because the thing that I hear the most from people is, oh, AI is going to take my job. No, your job is foundationally going to change. If you're a performance marketer, if you're a customer service person, you're going to spend less of your time answering the same question around where's my order over and over and over again, and you're going to spend time on the hard tickets. You're going to be spending time, with the customer that's really, really upset. You're going to be spending time taking that negative brand interaction and making it into a champion customer. That is your job, because that is like the high leverage thing that you can do as a human. And the thing that you need to do to not be replaced is get on this bandwagon, right? Like start using these tools, start figuring out how you can make your job easier, because that's how you become the hero. That's how you're suddenly the smart one. That's suddenly how the company's coming to you to figure out how the future looks, rather than being like, oh, this person needs to be, replaced with somebody that knows something new.
It sounds like AI might be handling a little more of the grind, and humans just can handle, I don't know if it's a word that you've had or you said here, but the humans can handle more of the magic around the business, the high level strategy that goes with it, instead of dealing with manually sorting tickets and like copying and pasting and all this repetitiveness that doesn't need to be there. It's just like, now you can kind of focus on, instead of spending all this time, I don't know, like reading reviews and all that. It's just, you don't need to do that anymore. AI can now just automatically like just flag positive reviews or bad sentiment or whatever. And then like exactly what you said, like humans can now make decisions that, create better moments and better I don't know. It just seems overall, it seems like a better opportunity, a better use of your time. I think that's the problem. The efficiency improvements, and I love your calculator. I think it's really neat. I think you're going to save people so much time. But the time savings are there. But on the flip side, though, they also think about the creative side of like, well, I don't have to be involved in that anymore. Now I can actually elevate the business because I can just put my actual brain power into it than just the minutia of the business.
I fully agree with that. History tells us the exact same thing, right? Like when the ATM was invented, everyone was really, really up in arms about the fact that, oh, like this is a horrible invention. Like all these bankers are going to like lose their jobs. But guess what? A human is worth a lot more than pulling a specific amount of cash out of a drawer and handing it to someone else, right? Like we can do things that are a lot more advanced than that. And we actually employ, like, even if you look at sort of like the growth curve, we employ more people in the banking sector today than we did in those days. ATMs liberated us from having to do really, really, really painful manual work of counting cash. Like a bot can do that. Capitalism, for its benefits and for all of its downsides, is always going to win out. Companies, if they're saving a ton of money and time with AI, are going to use that profit to invest in further growth. Everyone is greedy. Like everyone wants to see the stock go up. Like AI will not grow your business for you, but what you can do is it'll save you money that you can then use to invest in growth. There's a ton of things that humans can do that AI will never be able to do, and we just have to make sure that everyone knows that they have to get ready for that future specifically.
And AGI is not coming anytime soon.
No. I spend so much of my time trying to get these AI agents to like do one basic task properly. It's not going to be able to like, no. There's no way. Like AGI, I don't know if it'll ever be here, but it's definitely not around the corner like everyone says.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ibby, this has been a great conversation. I wanted to, number one, thank you for taking time to chatting today. I think it's a necessary conversation that needs to happen. It's not going to stop here either. It's a nonstop iterative process, and just the way the technology is advancing. And those that are interested, Cotera, that's COTERA.co. You can go there, take a look. Thanks for that offer of like throwing a few credits to people that are interested. They can just kind of mention me, mention e-commerce Fastlane. I think there's a link on the website to get started. There's some opportunity there. I'll have some details in the show notes too about how they can get a hold of you or the team directly. And we can kind of go to the next step if there's some interest here. But definitely worth coming to the website and having a look to see. I think that's part of the education process today was that this technology is available. However you want to use it, and depending on where you're at in your maturity or your complexity, there's opportunity with AI. You just happen to build a very unique solution for autonomous agents, and I just thank you for that.
Tell you what, if you have gotten to the point where you've listened to 45 minutes of Steve and I chatting, I will give you my personal phone number. My cell is 402-468-8492. If you're trying to figure out how to use AI in your business, I promise I will not pitch you, but you can text me. This is my customer line that I give to all my customers. Shoot me a text. Ask me any questions. I'm very, very happy to answer them.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, that's money right there. I appreciate it. All right, Ivy, have yourself a great afternoon.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.